Homework for this week, right? Remember, homeworks are not programming, questions, comments, different things to do on pencil and paper, not really a program, okay? Homework this week is to build a flow chart, okay? You went over flow charts on Wednesday. I'm going to do a quick review today because we're going to add one more element onto it, okay? Control structures. Remember, in order to do something, how many are there? 3. Thank you. Okay. Number 1, I can go in sequence. Number 2, I can make a decision. And number 3, I can repeat. Okay. Ooh, wow. Spelling, not my thing. I think there's an A in repeat. There, okay. We can repeat. That's all we can do, okay? So you've got to be able to do whatever you need to do using one of these 3 things. The only way we can have control, okay? So, the only thing we can do in our flow chart is one of those 3 things, okay? Does anyone remember how we start? With a start. With a start. Right? The little like flattened circle, like pill looking thing. It looks like a capsule. We have lines going in the direction that we want to go, right? What was an input? Do you remember? Do you remember? Yeah. Input and output are parallelogram. Okay. What was the process? Rectangle. Rectangle. Okay. And that's pretty much what all we did last time, right? So going from one to the other, that's sequential. Okay. Does anyone know what it looks like on a flow chart if I want to make a decision or do a repeat? These actually have the same symbol. What symbol am I missing up here? Good job. A rhombus or a diamond. Okay. You're going to use that both for decisions and for repeating. Okay. So I go here. Right? I know you guys have maybe seen this. If yes, do A. If no, do B. Something that looks like that. Yeah? Okay. This is going to be your decision. If you're going to repeat, what you're going to have, I'm going to die on this thing. I know I say that like every class. It'll look something like that, and we'll get more into it, okay? But your repeats and your decisions are going to have that same shape in your flow chart, okay? In your homework, hand something in, please, okay? Do not get caught up in the equations and the numbers, okay? That's not what I'm checking. I'm checking flow chart, okay? I believe it says like take a salary and multiply it by like a percentage. Don't get caught up in the numbers. Do not get caught up in the equations. That's not what we're doing. It's not math, okay? Take it step by step with whatever it says and draw your pictures, okay? Remember, inside those figures, we're going to put notation that's going to help us understand what that was, right? So here, okay, start's always going to say start. Input, name. Okay, it'll say something like that, right? X equals 3 plus, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, B. Right? Is X greater than 5? Okay. So you can see how I'm putting notation in those shapes to expand on what I already know, right? The shape is going to give me the action. What's in it is going to give me the info. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let me pull up homework. Just want to see what it says real quick. Because like I said, I'm afraid I don't want you guys to get caught up. Because I know this is something that a lot of people get caught up in. Oh. Hold on, I have to double factor authentication my thing. I get it. I'm a computer person, but it's still annoying. No, everybody thinks that. Okay, let me turn this back on real quick. And we're going to look at it. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Courses. Homework 2. Let's look at it as a student. Homework 2. Okay. I'm going to erase some of this. You may not be able to see it, but you'll be able to see it on yours, okay? So the first thing, allow the user to enter their hourly pay rate. What shape is that going to be? Parallelogram, right? You're allowing the user to enter something. Okay? Oh, that was my note. Allow the user to enter in the number of hours worked. What shape? Very good. Allow the user to enter in percentage of pay withheld. Okay. User to enter, user to enter, user to enter. Parallel, parallel, parallel. Yeah? Okay. Program will multiply hourly pay rate by the number of hours worked. Why?
Because it's the like equation, the calculation.
Exactly. Program will multiply. You can like stop there and draw my shape, right? Okay. Don't get caught up in the hourly pay rate by the number da 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 da. We don't care at this point, right? Okay. Program will multiply the gross pay by the withholding percentage.
Again.
Program will multiply. Yeah? Does that make sense? Again, we're not getting caught up. Withholding percentage times pay. I don't care. Right? Subtracts the withholding amount from the gross pay. Because we're doing an equation, we're subtracting. Make sense? Display the net pay after taxes. I think y'all are getting the word keyword display. Right? Just taking pictures. Okay. Hourly pay rate. Okay, so we've got rate. The number of hours. We've got hours. And the percentage withheld. So percentage. Okay. Those are our three inputs. Right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I literally just took these sentences and kind of dissected them. That's all for these first three. Okay. Multiply. So this says gross pay. So they're in the thing. Multiply hourly pay rate. So that's the rate multiplied by the number of hours worked. Times the number of hours worked. Do I need to understand this math to figure this out? Not necessarily, right? I am not an accounting person. Okay? Literally taking those sentences word by word and putting them where I need them. Okay? Program will multiply the gross pay multiplied by the withholding percentage. Okay? And that's going to be equal to the withholding amount. Again, do I need to understand anything about economics and accounting to figure that out? It literally told me in the equation. Okay? Subtract the withholding amount from the gross pay. Minus my withholding amount is equal to net. It's exactly what the sentence told me. Yeah? Make sense? Okay? Display net. Okay? I didn't get caught up in all those words with full taxes and money and pay and da, 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 da. I don't care. Okay? It's going to be your job as programmers to interpret from all different walks of life in order to automate it, right? That's all we're doing. We're automating processes. Okay? This might be a programmer working in a financial firm. Okay? Computers are everywhere, right? If you're a programmer working in the medical field, you need to have a medical degree. No. But they're sure going to shoot out at you. Find your way. You good? They're sure going to tell you, right? This dosage, this day, this drug, da 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 da, right? Do you need to understand fully and have a medical degree in order to program that? No. Okay? Break it down into the most basic steps. Does that make sense? So please, for this homework, all you have to do now is connect these and put the correct things in the shapes. We just did it. It took us, I'm gonna die on this thing. It took us what, like 2 minutes? Okay? Do not sit there and stare and say, well, I don't understand hourly rates and net pays. And I don't understand that stuff either. I'm not gonna lie. Okay? Does anyone truly understand American taxes? No. Okay? But I can read this sentence and I can automate it. That's all I'm being asked to do. Yeah? So do not get hung up in all of these words. Okay? It literally tells you the equation. Gross pay is the multiplication of the hourly pay rate with the number of hours worked. It tells me. Okay? You can tell this is not the first time I've used this assignment, correct? So I know what y'all are going to do. Trust me. Okay? Remember, hand in something. Questions about this homework, putting this flow chart together? We don't even have any decisions or anything going on here right now. Okay? Yeah? Okay. I don't know, it's one of these things. Okay. Everybody got their pictures and notes of this? Okay. Cool. So one thing, we've learned how to print, right? How are we going to take user input? Okay. So let's do this real quick. So user input. Okay. What did we use to output? What command did we use? Printf. Right? We use the brackets, the parentheses, the percentage number. Right? Okay. Command, format, variable. Right? That's what we did on lab 2, A, B, and C. Okay. Now, in order to take in, it's going to be very, very similar. Okay. We're going to need a command.
And unfortunately, somehow the camera died. so you can't see any more of what I'm writing on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and do a short recording of what we discussed in the rest of that video that we can't see anymore. So I started out by talking about how we look at things and we have those controls. Okay, so we talked about the sequential, the iteration, and the decision. Okay. When we make a decision, we do so using that if statement. So if something is true, okay, then we put a curly bracket and we put the block of code or the body. So your block goes here, and then you'll have a variable or something there. So if something is true, do this. Okay, that's called a single selection. Okay. Now, if you want to check for something and if it's false, do something else, I can add an else here. So I can say else, do this block. Okay. So if it's raining, go home. Otherwise, go to the beach. Okay. You can see how you can kind of build these decisions. Now, when I have both of those, it's called a double selection. Okay. If I want to add more and more, I can actually say else if and put another condition. I can do another else if with a condition. I can keep doing that. Okay. And then I can finish with an else. Okay. So this is one of our ways to do a decision. Okay. So you can use the if by itself. You can use ifs with the else. Okay. Those are the two different ways that we have in order to make a decision. And remember, we kind of went through it. Your decision in your flow chart usually looks something like this. Okay. And you have an if. That's how you're going to make a decision when it comes to code. So let's say we need something to be true or false when it comes to this variable. So we can use regular mathematic expressions like greater than, less than, or equal to. Now, when we do a comparison, it's a double equal, okay? Because a single equal sign is an assignment. We can also do greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. Okay, so we have all these different ways. So if I want to say if your grade DE is greater than or equal to a 93, I can say something like that. Okay, you can also put things together. Okay, so we have an and, which is that ampersand, and we put two of them for a comparison. And that's our and. And then we also have an or. The or is two straight lines. Okay, this straight line is above your enter key. And the ampersand is above the number 7. Okay, that's all we have for decision making. Okay, so now let's look at that repetition. Okay, or we do call it looping. Okay, we have 3 main ways to do it. So number 1, if we know the number of times that we want to do it. Secondly, we can check before we do anything. And then last, we can check after. Okay? Now, if we know the number of times that we want to do something, we call that a for loop. Okay? And we have 3 pieces in that for loop. And in that for loop, they're all separated with the semicolon. But we've got a start, we've got a stop, and we've got what we either call an increment or a decrement. Increment means we're increasing. Decrement means we're decreasing. Okay? So for the start, I can say my variable I equals 0. And while I is less than 5, and then I can say add 1 to it. Okay. In C, the plus automatically adds 1. Okay. So that's the same. A equals A plus 1 is the same thing as saying A plus plus. Okay. So we'll just say plus plus here. And for our for, we can do our curly brackets and we can put our block. It will do this block however many times it takes to get from that to that by 1. Okay, and it's going to do whatever in there. Okay. The second way, so that's our, we know the number of times, so that's going to be a for loop. Number 2, we've got a checking before we do any kind of coding, and that's while. Okay. Let me put that over here. While. So while something, while I is less than 5, do something. Okay, do my block. Okay. Now with the while, you need to make sure that that number changes value in here. Okay. So you will have to do like an I plus plus or an I equals I plus 2. You know, something has to be done to change that I. Okay, it's not automatically changed. The only one that it changes automatically is in the for. And then number 3, we have something called a do while. Okay, so that's a do while. Okay, so here you're actually going to go past your do, go into your block, execute your block 1 time, and then check your condition. Okay? So you're going to do these steps while I is less than 5. So you're always going to do this 1 time. Here, in the plain while, you have the ability to possibly skip that block of code altogether for the first time. Okay? Because if I come in here and my I is already at 10, it's going to skip all of this. Okay? This, it's going to do the block and then say, what is my I? So that's the biggest difference between those two. So let's look at that repetition in a flowchart. Okay, so you're going to have, you're coming into your repetition. So for my for, I'm going to say 1 to 10. Okay, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do process. I'm going to do input, output. Doesn't matter. Okay. And then when I'm done, I'm going to keep going back 1 to 10. When it's done, we can then stop. Okay. Here's my loop right here. You could see it actually creates a loop. Okay. Now for my while, I can say while I is greater than 5, do something. Hang on, let me put mine. Do something, and it's going to come back and loop around when it's done. Okay. But my do while is going to look a little different. Okay. So you're going to have it coming down. You're going to do your process. Okay. Then you're going to have your while. Okay. If I is greater than 5, yes, come back up and do the process again. Okay, so that's a yes. No, go down here. Okay. Okay, so you can see in the flowchart version, it's doing its check and then it does the yes or no, right? And again, here's my loop. And in a do while, you're going to do it first, then check. But again, I still have my loop there. That's the majority of the video that was cut out, so hopefully this helped.